Alrighty, friends, we're back. It's your favorite podcast of the week. This is Location Weekly. This is episode number 674. If you're on the video version of this, you will see that the lovely Aubriana is back. It was nice to see Karsten last week and to record from the rooftop of Marina Bay Sands in Singapore. That was cool. But we can't top Aubriana. Like it's just, she is who she is. She just brings it every time. So, how are you?
Oh, that's nice. But I miss seeing you guys. I'm sure it was awesome to be there together in person, but I'm glad to be back.
Yeah. How's your week or couple weeks been?
It's been good. It's like the crazy rush. Everybody's in Cannes this week. I am here in New York, so which I'm not really upset about. I will drink rosé from my porch, which is great. And the kids are like the last full week of school here and just, moving a million miles an hour with everything happening, gearing up for all things work happening, but also all things summer kicking off. So it's getting hot.
It's getting hot. I get
It's
it.
getting hot.
Yeah, it's super hot. Speaking of hot, so over in Asia, it was crazy. Like we were, 35, 36 plus Celsius every day. Vietnam was so humid. It was crazy. Like I've not experienced that kind of heat for a long time. So it was challenging at times. But anyhow, we're back in Toronto. It's warm enough here. It's 32 today. It's Celsius here in Toronto. So but we don't have that humidity, that oppressive humidity yet. We will get that in August. No question. But yeah, so good times. We've got four stories we want to walk you through. And I'll let Aubriana kick us off.
All right, so we are going to start off with more of an announcement, which is location-based services provider, Life 360. We've heard about, these guys several times for several reasons, but they are moving into a US public offering. This is going to happen at $27 per share. They're looking to raise about 155 million. And this is marking the company's second listing. The first was their initial in Australia. They are based in San Francisco. They're offering like 5.75 million shares for this offering, and it was scheduled to close Friday. And the trading was expected to begin, I think, this Thursday, I believe, on NASDAQ. So the owner of Tile Tracker was saying that, this is going to help bolster the capitalization of enhancement of financial flexibility. Also, they're looking to establish a public market for their US stock. They're looking for working capital, operating expenses, capital expenditures, but they said, told the SEC they couldn't really talk about all the particular use cases for the proceeds of this fundraising. So anyways, I think you had a little bit of some extra sauce on this one, which is kind of interesting based on the timing. If you want to chime in on this, to see if
Yeah, so yeah, in and around the same timing as the that announcement, there was a an organization that basically hacked the Life 360 data set from Tile. They say they've collected names, addresses, email addresses, phone numbers, and Tile device identification numbers. They say that no credit card data or password or login credential data was taken, but all the other stuff that I mentioned was. And apparently there was an extortion attempt, to try to get paid for this data. So, I guess it's always interesting when you see, okay, hey, we're IPOing, we're doing this, and we have a lot of data. Somebody out there decided to try to take advantage of that and see if that, extorting them as they're about to IPO, if they could get, maybe paid more or quicker, because they wanted to, to go forward with this. So very interesting. I don't actually know if I didn't see anything to say if they agreed to any settlement or payment or any terms around that, but I just think the timing of it was rather interesting, to do that. So I don't know.
yeah, it's a kind of a crazy thing. And we know that they all had like, you know, they were definitely in that group of companies that got their hands slapped for their mishandling of location data, specifically children's location data. So yeah, they've kind of had like a few bumps on the road. So TBD
Yeah,
what
well,
happens.
we know the FTC has been kind of going all over everybody, right?
Yeah.
uh, in this space lately. We've talked about a bunch of them. So, yeah, so they set that initial price at $27. I see that they did complete the IPO because it's live
Yep. It
on the
is.
ASX right now. It's currently that's the Australian Stock Exchange, by the way, and it's currently trading at $15.44, Australian dollars, that is. So there you go.
Go.
That's the update. Okay. Moving on over, let's talk about some beer. It's summer, it's hot. There's a lot of European football going on right now with the UEFA Cup and the UEFA Champions League. And Heineken, who's a sponsor of that, is doing a little sort of activation here in Toronto, where I am. So for once, Aubriana, I can't send you to say go check this out in New York because it's here in Toronto.
Go check it out.
Yeah, go check it out. So usually you're the one that has to check it out because everything's happening
Yeah,
in New York, right?
that's
So
true.
yeah, so they did this pop-up campaign. So trying to go after, soccer fans, football fans that are into this. So they set up these sort of posters throughout the city. And you have to go around and sort of find these Heineken posters, and there's like clues. So it's kind of like a scavenger hunt, and you got to decode all the clues. And if you've unlocked, decoded all the clues, you unlock the address for their secret Heineken Champions League viewing party. So the idea here is that they're hosting this big viewing party, obviously with lots of free beer and food and merch and all kinds of stuff that they're probably giving away at this. But rather than just invite people to it or sell tickets to it, you can essentially win tickets to it by going around and finding their, billboard campaign posters throughout the city, solving the clues and unlocking the address to get your, your entrance to that. So this all just happened a couple weeks ago. And yeah, so it's obviously the UEFA Cup is still happening right now. I know a lot of my friends who are fans of the English team were cheering yesterday or watching their team yesterday because we were all at a local bar and that was happening. But yeah, I think it's an interesting activation. I think if you're going to spend money on out of home and billboards, why not make it something fun? Why not get people to go around and see a bunch of your advertising in different places and then drive some sort of follow on activation to it, like you can come to our party if you can solve these clues that are on the poster. So I think it's super interesting. I think it's a little bit of blend of old school in that they're print posters and kind of new school in that they're driving social media exposure around this and building an audience of fans. It's also really good too. I'll just add the one sort of other observation from this is, this is the UEFA Champions League, but we know the World Cup is coming to North America for the first time here. You have games that will be played here in Toronto, in New York, in
Atlanta.
Mexico, and so on. And so, part of this, if you're Heineken or if I'm Heineken, I'm thinking about this going, how am I starting to embrace or understand who the soccer fans are in these particular jurisdictions and cities and start to build my audience of people I want to engage with, leading up to the World Cup. So I like it for that point of view too.
Yeah, I agree with all your sentiments. I think it's fun, it's engaging. I would have liked to see a little bit more of like a local aspect to it, maybe like in terms of a bar crawl, or how do you get like the local pubs and bars involved in this a little bit more, where it's not just like the out of home capability, but it's more like maybe, maybe it's like engaging the other local kind of scene or where they sell the beer a lot of times. That could have been cool, but maybe for a future campaign, you know?
There you go.
All right, so let's
We gotta stop
go.
giving these ideas away for free though, Brianna. Come
I
on.
know I'm such an ideas person. It just comes out. It's like, I need to just reel it back in. You can pay for the premium. We're gonna edit
Yeah,
it out and then you can like pay for the premium version of this podcast where the ideas are there.
there you
That's
go.
they're doing it. Okay, so let's go to co-marketing cloud, SOCi. They are a multi-location enterprise that they help look enterprises with multi-locations really like balance all of their local search optimization, all these different things, right? So they all have a new offering. It's called Genius Search. And this application is designed to help transform local search with AI and the optimization of that local search by integrating these models to automate data and analytics and then local search optimization at every location. So, what does this mean? It means that they're analyzing these top local search ranking factors and then they're aggregating the insights from real-time local consumer activity like search behavior, business reviews, social media engagement, and then they're optimizing each location's online presence based on that information. Pretty cool. I think this is great. Like the ability to kind of say, hey, what's happening around this location, and let's optimize this specific business retail storefront for what's happening with the reviews and search behavior all around this area. They can also deliver and execute hundreds of thousands of location-based recommendations with a single click, they claim. I think this is great. I think this is interesting because we've heard a lot about AI in various spaces, but I like how we are hearing about this now with local search. And I think this is kind of like new. So kudos to the SOCi team, Monica, who we've known for years, that's over there. And I love that this is just treating each location a little bit differently and using AI to power that because as we know, search and behavior and things that may happen here in New York are going to be very different than things that perhaps happen in Omaha, Nebraska. So let's give it its own little flavor and let's make sure that it's optimized and working the best for those enterprises that have multiple locations. So I think it's a really cool tool.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good tool. I think they've added some interesting capabilities. I like their sort of description about where they say it's like having a data scientist at every location. Genius search I'm talking about. So, I think there's a lot of power in this. I think it's a very effective use of AI technology. I've seen some that are kind of, don't really impress me much. But I think this is good. I think, having, basically the ability to scale things very quickly with a single search or single click, doing the work of thousands, with one, is really, what they're trying to accomplish here. So I think if you can have, lots of local recommendations, if you can have localized insights, and you're using a machine to do that essentially, I think that's quite powerful and it's a great use of AI. So I think search itself is one of those areas where it just lends itself so well. I mean, if anyone's used ChatGPT, like if you feed it the right questions and then you start to narrow down from the answers that it's coming back with, by asking more specific things, you can really train, the AI to be, so much more effective. And I think in this case, that's kind of what this Genius search is doing in the sense that it's looking at these specific listings, these specific businesses, and creating behaviors that are evolving, very, very quickly, based on algorithmic, engines, that are powered by this. So I think it's very, very useful. Um, and I expect we'll see, from all of our other friends in the search areas and listings management areas, similar announcements shortly.
For sure.
Okay, lastly, we're going to jump over to India now, and we're going to talk about the Indian Out of Home Association, the IOAA. We talk about out of home a lot on this show, and they've announced their first ever what they're calling a unified audience measurement system for the Indian out of home industry. It's called RoadStar, and this is based on GPS data. So we're talking about what we talk about all the time with at home is how do you actually measure its effectiveness, or how many eyeballs are seeing these ads and so on. And so one of the most effective ways to do that is to use mobile GPS data and to count, how many phones are passing by or driving by or walking by and so on. So they've been working with a company called ReluAI, which is based in Mumbai. They've been around for a couple of years and worked with other media groups, like the Times of India and so on. And yeah, so they've launched this new tool called RoadStar, and they're presenting this now out to the major advertising agencies in India. And I guess for me, I look at this and go, there's nothing innovative here, right? We've heard about so many of these attribution measurement tools that use GPS for out of home. But I think what's interesting here is you have the association for the market in India releasing their own platform. And so I think that, whereas you often see these platforms coming directly from, the technology vendor community saying, hey, we've got this thing, and then going and trying and doing deals with each out of home company, to be their, attribution, measurement partner, as opposed to the industry association itself coming and saying, hey, we represent everybody. And we're also partnering up with the advertising industry association and saying, hey, we've developed a platform and here it is, and you guys can all take advantage of this. And I'm assuming they're looking to get, some, revenue from that. They say that the platform covers 800 markets. So they've broken the country into 800 markets. And they're tracking over 60,000 out of home media sites. So seems pretty comprehensive to me. I like, as I said, that they've kind of made this available across all the members and the community in the association, as opposed to coming from the other side. And by the way, the mobile data that they're using to power this comes from Unicast. So
Interesting. Well, that's a fun point on the story
yeah.
from Unicast. Okay. Yeah, I think you covered it all. Nothing new, not too groundbreaking, but it sounds like they have excellent coverage. And so maybe it's probably a better and improved offering in their market. Still a need for it. I think out of home has so much potential, digital or in store, all of the above. I think there's just like a lot of growth that's going to happen, especially as we start to connect that world with the other digital pieces even better than we have been with simply mobile. So I think there's some exciting stuff that's on the forefront there.
There you go. And good for Unicast too. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll have to reach out to Thomas and congratulate them on this one because, I was on the original advisory board when they started the company, and there was no data in India from them at that time. So I guess they've really expanded their
Happen.
coverage in different markets. So good for them around that as well. So okay, so that's our show for this week. Thank you everybody for listening and watching. If you have story ideas or feedback, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Aubriana will not be here next week, so you get this one amazing audience with her. That you're just gonna have to take. And then she's like, we just won't see her as much over the next few weeks. People have holidays, all kinds of things coming up. It's busy
Yeah,
time. It's a busy
it
time.
is a busy time.
So next week, I'm actually going to be on holiday together with Karsten in Italy. And so we will actually record and bring you a show directly from Italy. So a little special treat. We'll be up in the mountains in the Alps there, and we'll try to bring you something noteworthy from that venue. And then we'll be back in a couple weeks and get to see Ariana's beautiful face again and smiling at
Hmm.
us. So there you go.
Well, sounds like you're going to be in a beautiful location next week.
Yeah.
So maybe throw in some views. But until then,
Okay. We'll see what we can do.
all
Yeah.
right.
All right. Take care, everyone. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.